Shiite leader Abdel Malek al-Huthi on February 7 defended his powerful militia's establishment of transitional bodies to resolve Yemen's political crisis, in the face of street protests and international criticism. This historic and responsible initiative is in the interest of the country, because it fills a political vacuum, Huthi said in a televised address to his supporters gathered in a northern Sanaa stadium. He said it was in the interest of all Yemenis without exception, including the separatists of southern Yemen. The formation of a presidential council, announced on Friday, would also head off the threat from Al-Qaeda, which has a strong presence in East and South Yemen, Huthi said. If Al-Qaeda takes control of the country, it will plot against our brothers in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, he warned. However, Yemen's Gulf neighbors have condemned the moves by the Shiite militia, named Houthis after their leadership, saying they totally undermine international and regional efforts to help resolve the impoverished country's crisis. The Houthi coup marks a grave and unacceptable escalation, and endangers the security, stability, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Yemen, said the Saudi-led Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. The six Sunni monarchies said their own security was linked to that of their neighbor Yemen, and vowed to take all the necessary measures to defend their interests, without elaborating. The Shiite militia overran Sanaa in September and seized the presidential palace and key government buildings last month, prompting Western-backed President Abdrabbo Mansur Hadi and Prime Minister Khalid Baha to tender their resignations. In an announcement on Saturday, the Houthis said Hadi's defense minister, General Mahmoud al-Subai, would chair a newly formed security commission, which also included the outgoing interior minister. The commission's task would be to lead the country's affairs until the establishment of a presidential council. The announcement was followed by a blast outside the Houthi-controlled presidential palace, and protests by thousands of people on the streets of Yemeni cities, witnesses said. Gunmen loyal to the Shiite militia fired into the air to disperse demonstrators in Sanaa and detained 17 of them in a second successive day of anti-Houthi protests. A U.S. official at a security conference in Munich said Washington and its GCC allies don't agree with the Houthis' transition plans. An UN Security Council President Lujai said its 15 members were ready to take further steps if unbrokered negotiations to resolve Yemen's political crisis were not resumed immediately. Turkey's foreign ministry was also critical, urging the Houthis to act with common sense, restraint, and responsibility at this critical stage in upholding the salvation of the country. On the home front in the mainly Sunni country, influential tribal leaders in the oil-rich eastern province of Marib said they rejected the authors of this coup. The Sunni Islamist party Al-Islah, a major player in Yemeni politics, rejected the unilateral Houthi initiative and called for it to be scrapped in favor of a return to political dialogue. Even the General People's Congress of ousted President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who has become an ally of the Shiites, said the moves were unconstitutional and called for dialogue. On Friday, the Houthis said they would set up a national council of 551 members to replace parliament in the violence-racked country, a key U.S. ally in the fight against Al-Qaeda. The five-member presidential council would form a transitional government to run Yemen for 2 years, they announced. The declaration came after a Wednesday deadline set by the militia for political parties to resolve Yemen's crisis passed with no agreement, and also called for the formation of a revolutionary council. UN envoy Jamal Ben-Ammar, who has been striving to seek a negotiated solution, was back in Sanaa on Saturday and expected to meet members of the council and political leaders, the Houthi-controlled state news agency Sabah reported. Friday's declaration by the Houthis described Mohammed Ali al-Huthi as president of the Revolutionary Council. Yemen, which is also fighting an al-Qaeda insurgency, has been riven by instability since the Arab Spring-inspired uprising that forced autocratic President Saleh from power in 2012.